In 2018, the Wall Street Journal uploaded a video showing a 31-year-old man named Daigo. Daigo talks about how he spent over $70,000 on a free mobile Gachapon game called Fate Grand Order. This man spends almost every waking moment of his life playing that game, stopping only to clean his parents' house, which he lives in, or go shopping. Let that sink in for a second. What would you do if you had an extra $70,000 lying around? Would you spend it all on a single game? A game that didn't actually cost anything to play? How does anyone get to this point? And could it happen to you? Welcome to the world of mobile Gachapon games. If you've ever been to Japan, you've probably already seen real Gachapon machines, or sometimes called a capsule machine. It's simple. You put in some money, and you crank the machine, and a random toy or collectible will come out. The super nice toys are usually the ones that are the rarest, so if you crank the machine and you get something you didn't want, or you get a toy you already have, you might be tempted to spend another dollar to get the thing you're looking for. A Gachapon game is a game built around that central foundation. Take a normal game, like an RPG or an action game or even a rhythm game, but the number one way to get stronger units is to roll for it. Rolling in the context of a Gachapon is to try your luck to get the character you want, like a roll of the dice. You put in some in-game currency, you see a nice shiny animation, and then you get a character. Hopefully, whatever you rolled will make your team better, or at least be really hot or something. If it wasn't the one you want, you better try again. You don't have to roll anything. You can choose to use the terrible units the game gives you for free, but you're going to be basically outclassed by every single other person playing the game. A lot of very popular mobile games are primarily gacha games. You might have heard of games like Fire Emblem Heroes, Granblue Fantasy, and of course, like Daigo, Fate Grand Order. But a ton of other games have gacha-like elements that you might not have picked up on. The newly released Pokemon Rumble Rush, as well as Pokemon Go and Clash Royale, all have treasure chests that can really increase the power of your team. But they take time to access. You want to make that timer go faster, you spend some money. Games like Marvel Puzzle Quest let you get new characters by opening booster packs, which you can get by spending in-game money. Not every mobile game is a gacha game, but when you sit back and think about it, there are tons of gacha elements all over the App Store. Why? Because they make the game more addicting. And this is the heart of the whole situation. Let's use a game I play as an example. I play an amazing game called Epic 7. It's a very fun RPG. Graphics are phenomenal. There's a deep storyline, and underneath all the Gachapon stuff, there's an actual solid game. This video is not sponsored by Epic 7. In this game, there's a type of in-game currency called mystic tokens that are very hard to get. These tokens can be used to summon some super ridiculously broken characters from a very special machine inside the game. Even if you play non-stop, you will probably only get around 100 to 250 tokens a week, which comes out to 2 to 5 rolls a week depending on how your guild does. The chances of rolling the super rare, super powerful character is 0.625%. Doing the math, that means you have to roll on average 160 times to get the character you want. So that's like what, 40 weeks if you're lucky? So maybe at first you don't spend any money. The game is free, you're enjoying yourself. Then you start seeing this character in PvP everywhere. They're kicking your ass. People on the subreddit are gushing about how amazing this character is. Worst of all, the friend you play with gets lucky and rolls the character. You're burning with envy. You could just roll a few times a week and maybe you'll eventually get him. Or if you just spent $139 to get 700 tokens, that's 14 chances right there. That's a month's worth of rolling you can get right now. What if you get them? Wouldn't that be worth it? But no. 139 is too expensive. That's way too much to pay for a game. But what if you just spent $14? That gets you one extra roll. Ooh, that's not bad. You spend that $14, you don't get the character. Now that you've spent money that one time, it's that much easier to get tempted into spending money again and again. The type of people who do nothing but just dump incredible amounts of money into these games are called whales, because they're willing to spend whatever it takes to get the character they want. If this sounds like gambling, that's because it is. Another YouTuber by the name of Evil Jagan did a great video last year about how Gachapon Games use very similar techniques as actual real-life casinos to get people to spend as much money as possible. I put a link to it in the description below if you want to check it out. It's very good, very informative. Let's take a look at another example of how this sort of thing ruins lives. Final Fantasy Brave Exvius is the Final Fantasy version of the gacha game. You summon some heroes. You might get Cloud or Squall or whoever, and they fight in your party. Simple concept, right? A user on the Final Fantasy Brave Exvius subreddit by the name of Nothing024 documents how badly he's been sucked into this trap. I made it to November, the Crystal Tower, the release of Luneth and Refia, the best DPS and the best healer available at the time. I had saved my Lapis, which is the premium currency. I could do a 10+1 roll, which means you could pull 11 times. I had maybe 20 or so tickets saved. I used all my resources and was trolled. I was enraged, incensed, insistent that I get Luneth. I put in my card number into my digital wallet and upped myself $99 of Lapis. Then I pulled and I pulled and I pulled, and I got nothing. So I put in another $99 and pulled, and I got Luneth. I could advance and defeat all new content. It was only $200. I can spare that. I haven't bought a video game in 6 years. I deserve it. I earned it. Then came the big bridge, Gilgamesh, the best TMR you could get. I still have a 10+1 pull after my Luneth. I had saved the tickets from the Mog King. I pulled for Greg and failed again. It was only $200 to get Luneth. How bad would that be for the best accessory in the game? I put in my money again. $99, no Greg. $99, no Greg. $99, no Greg. I took a break for a little bit. My family had plans for the day. I was angry now. How could I have spent $300 and not gotten what I wanted? When nobody was looking, around everyone, I did it again. $99, no Greg. $99, no Greg. So on and so on. Skipping ahead a little bit, he says, I am currently $15,800 in debt. My wife no longer trusts me. My kids, who ask me why I'm playing Final Fantasy all the time, will never understand how I selfishly spent money I should have been using for their activities. I have never spent more than $1,000 on my wife at one time. I spent $16,000 in digital garbage in about a year. I encourage you to read the entire thread to really get the full story. I've placed a link in the description below. If you're a normal person watching this, you probably think anyone who chooses to play these games is insane. You probably think I'm insane, because even though I know this sort of game ruins lives, I still love playing Gachapon RPGs. I've played a lot of them. I played Puzzle and Dragon, Monster Strike, Grand Blue Fantasy, Fate Grand Order, Bang Dream, Dragalia Lost, Fire Emblem Heroes, Destiny Child, and of course, Epic 7. I go out of my way to hunt for new Gachapon RPGs to play because it gives me that rush that regular games rarely do. To those of you who just don't get it, who just don't understand the appeal, especially after hearing about how it can ruin lives, here's why I love them. Note that these are just the reasons why I love gacha games. Your mileage may vary. Number 1. Randomness allows for more variation, which means more fun. I love the idea of doing things differently in games. When possible, I try to avoid the right way to play a game, and I just do things my own way, because I think that's more fun, you know? With a Gachapon RPG, every time you start, even the same game, the team you start with is going to be different every single time. If you summoned a super rare archer character and your friend summoned a super rare warrior character, your experiences will be very different. I love that. By keeping things random, the game feels less forced, more organic, and more fun. Number 2, it feels good to beat the odds. If there's a new rare character that's super strong and super hot or whatever, and you manage to get them in 4 to 5 rolls, you feel like you're the luckiest person on earth. Those weeks or months of you demolishing other people in PvP or clearing through endgame content because you rolled the strongest character in the game is like crack cocaine. It's a selfish reason, obviously, but a big part of why people play these games is to show off their good luck to their friends or to strangers on the internet. Speaking of getting the character you want, number 3 is waifu for laifu. Yes, it's embarrassing, but listen. Some of these girls are super cute, okay? To those of you who say, why don't you just download a picture of her? Just put her in Google image search. It's not the same. It's not that simple. Anyone can have a picture of the character they want, but only those who are worthy get to play them in the game. Only those with the luck have earned the right to have her sit in your tavern on the home screen. That's the difference. Yes, this whole thing sounds crazy. I know I'm kind of sounding like a lunatic, but waifu culture is absolutely a thing. And if I can feel this sort of way, you can bet tens of thousands of other people are just like me. Why do you think animes and video games have attractive characters? They want you to grow an attachment to these characters. They want you to like them, to love them. And in gacha games, having that attachment can be very lucrative for companies. So what am I trying to say? I'm not saying gacha games need to be erased because they're pure evil, and I'm not saying everyone and their children should be playing gacha games. I'm saying that people need to understand gacha games can be dangerous, and that you need to be ready for that before you jump in. For myself, I refuse to spend even a cent for any gacha game because I know how dangerous it is. Once you take that first step and once you spend that first dollar, it gets really easy to spend that second dollar and that third dollar. And before you know it, you've spent $70,000. Take a good hard look at yourself. If you don't think you have the self-discipline to hold back, or maybe you have gambling problems in the past, then seriously, don't get into this genre. It will eat you alive. If you find yourself struggling to pay the bills every month, don't even give yourself the temptation. But for the rest of you who think you can handle it, welcome to Gacha Hell. It's warm here. Just don't expect to leave anytime soon.